everybody, you're welcome to this Python tutorials on working with Excel files using Python. Today we'll be looking at how to extend the functionalities and powers of Python in manipulating Excel files for easier automation. Here with me are the list of what we are going to be looking at. The first is how to load existing Excel files or workbooks, and secondly, how to create new workbook. Thirdly, how to load any of the desired worksheet, and fourthly, how to get data from our worksheet. The fifth is how to update or add new data to our worksheet, and probably how to delete as well. Sure. And then the last one is how to freeze the pane. Then we have got one exercise here to work on. So without a waste of time, let's get to work. I will be using the Python pre-install IDE for these tutorials so that we can enjoy interactivity as contained. We shall be using the Openpyxl modules for manipulating Excel files. You should be aware that the Openpyxl is a third-party module, which means it doesn't come pre-installed with Python. So if you don't have it, you go ahead to your command prompt or your terminal and then key in pip install Openpyxl, and then you hit enter, and then make sure you have a good internet connection so that you can install the Openpyxl modules and then get to work. I've installed mine already, so I should be having no error importing Openpyxl. Okay, so from here we can now move ahead. I will also like to import the OS modules. If you're seeing this for the first time, I also have a video on how to enjoy the powers contained in the OS modules. You can go check that out. I will actually be using this to change my current path from my home directory to the desktop, because that is where my Excel file is located. Okay, so I think let's confirm that. I'm actually in my home directory, so I would like to change the directory to os.path.join. Don't get confused seeing what I'm doing. You can actually go check out the videos. It's actually very simple to use the OS modules. Okay, get the current working directory, which we are in now, and then attach it with the desktop, and then we are good to go. So os.get current working directory should get us to the desktop. Okay, so we are there. Now from our list here, the first thing is how to load an existing Excel file, and here in my desktop I've got one Excel file, example.xls. It's just a small Excel file containing 9 rows and 6 columns. Okay, it has one sheet, and it has two sheets actually, sheet 1 and sheet 2. So the whole of this Excel file is the workbook, while these sheets are where we work on. You can have more than 1,000 sheets, as much as you can handle. For our Excel file, we only have sheet 1 and sheet 2, which we are going to be working with. Okay, so now the next thing is to quickly load in our Excel file, which is the first thing. So you say workbook equal to Openpyxl .load workbook. You know, one thing I love Python is its English like syntax. Okay, everything just look like English. Load workbook, then the file name should be the name of the Excel file, which is example. Okay, there is also a read only parameter which is set to false. That means we can read and write at the same time. If it is set to true, it means you can only read without writing to the Excel file. And this data only, which is set to false, means you should import and load your Excel files together with all the formulas, not only the data. So when you set it to true, then Python will ignore any formulas that is contained in your Excel file and only load the return value from those formulas. So I think we are good to go. Let's check out. Workbook has been successfully loaded. Very well. And then the next thing now is how to get our sheets. Right, we have sheet 1 and sheet 2. So the good news is Python and Openpyxl provide us with methods to work with the Excel file efficiently. Something like workbook.getSheet names. Okay, it's return a list containing the strings of the names of the sheet we have. We have sheet 1 and sheet 2 as currently contained here. So this function returns all the worksheets that are contained in our workbook. So to get the sheets that we need, let's say sheet 1 equal to workbook.getSheets by name. That is actually a method that is also available. Then we want to load sheet 1. Okay, now let's check it out. Sheet 1 has actually been loaded successfully. It has been loaded successfully. You can also load sheet 2. Sheet 2 equal to workbook.getSheets by name. And then you pass it sheet 2, and then let's check it out. Sheet 2 has also been loaded successfully. Okay, what next? How to load any of the desired sheet. We have done that. And this, how to create a new workbook. I think I will be jumping this to the last section. I wish to take you down to the last section so that we don't get confused. Okay, we have successfully loaded our existing file, and then we have also loaded the desired worksheet, which is sheet 1 and sheet 2 separately. Then the third one is how to get data from our worksheet. Okay, now the data are actually these things contained in our cell. The stuffs, these values here that are contained in our cell. Now to get data, we have to reference the cell by its column ID as well as the row ID, right? Like this value here, it is in A1. It is located in A1, and this is located in A2, and this is in A9. So to get the cell, we have to use the column ID as well as the row ID. Okay, now let's see that in practice. Let's say cell 1 equal to sheet, then this time around we give it A1. Sorry, something is missing. Cell 1 equal to sheet 1, actually, not sheet, pardon me. Okay, so now let's go. Cell 1 has actually been loaded. Is from sheet 1 and is actually cell named cell A1. We can get the value by saying cell 1 dot value Openpyxl tutor. That is very correct. Let's say we want to load the second cell, which is at B1. The same thing apply. We say cell 2 equal to sheet 1, then we give it B2. Okay, and then let's say cell 2 dot value, and this is here. Okay, because this is B2, this is B1, this is B2, right? So it has been gotten excellently. Let's say we want to get the other names of the first person. This here F2, right? Winifred. So we can actually tell, let's say last cell equal to sheet 1. Then I think it should be F2 not the functional F2. Actually we have the F and then 2. Okay, so I think we are good to go. Then let's call it and see what we have got. It has been loaded. And let's say let's dot value to get the value. It has been loaded successfully. Winning friend. Okay, this is actually one of the way to access the values of a cell. Another way out, let's say first cell again. This time around it will be sheet 1 dot cell. Then you pass in the row and then the column. The row should be 1 and then the column, okay, the column should be 1 as well. Now this is row 1 column 1 for Openpyxl tutor, right? So let's load it now. Let's check out. First cell has been loaded successfully. Then the first cell, get the value, and then let's see Openpyxl tutor. Okay, so you can actually choose to use this method to access the cell, or you pass in the cell coordinate directly using square bracket. Actually, you should be careful. We're using square bracket here, while here we pass in the rows and the column as numbers. Then you can actually slice in the data in the sheet. Let's say we want to return the cells from A2 to B5. Okay, from A2 to B5 we want to get all the cells. So we can say, let's say many cells, they are actually many, equal to sheet 1. Then we actually slice it, let's say A2 to B5, right? So many cells will actually return a tuple, yes, containing the cells from A2 to B5. So you can actually write your for loop to manipulate the data that are contained in your for loop, and then everything moves smoothly. Now the next thing here is we're able to get our data from the worksheet, how to update or add new data to our worksheet, and then probably how to also delete data from our worksheet. Now let's say this description doesn't make sense. Openpyxl tutor, we want to change it to something like admission number or application number. Okay, we want to change this because it doesn't make sense. So we come back to Python and tell it how to locate that cell and then give the value. We say what? Sheet 1 dot cell. We give it the row. The row is 1, and then the column is also 1. Then we say dot value equal to, let's say should it be application number. Okay, now for everything you do, just as in the normal Excel file, when you make changes you key in Ctrl S to save. The same thing in Python, you have to key in the save method so that your workbook save the changes. So we say workbook.save and we give it a file name. Okay, we give it a file name. Let's call this example 1. Then with the format as well, don't miss that out. So let's quickly check it out and see. We have example 1 created, and in example 1 we have changed it to application number, just like this. It is no more Openpyxl. Now let's say we want to change the first name, the surname, and other names of the person at row 2. We want to change the first name, surname, and other name. So the first name is in D2, the surname is in E2, and then the other name is in F2. Now instead of using this way, I'm going to change to use another way to actually check the value. I will say sheet, then I will pass in the coordinate D2 equal to, that should be my first name, Michael. Let me actually capitalize that. Okay, directly, sorry. Wow, I'm used to this damn sheet of a thing. It should be sheet 1. That is why we are getting name error, that sheet is not defined. It's actually sheet 1. So we are good. Then we say sheet 1, then we get the value at E2 again, E2, and then we set it to my surname. Don't look at my surname, something is missing here. Don't look at my surname. It should be sheet 2, not 1 again. Let me not make silly mistakes. And then I will use this method for the other names. Sheets.sir, the row is still 2 equal to 2, but this time around the column is F, so it has an integer equivalent. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, E is 5, and F is 6. Okay, F is 6, so I can actually say column equal to 6, and everything is gone. Then I will say dot value equal to my other name, which is Johanna. Okay, now if you don't know the last cell, you can actually use a method that's actually available. We'll get to that later. Again, I'm making that same mistake. Removing that 1 is causing me a lot of trouble. And then the last thing is workbook.save, and this will be example 2. We've got example 1 already, so it will be example 2, and we should be good. So let's check it out. Example 2. Oh, the E is actually missing. Let's see. The names have been changed. First name Michael, the surname Dama, and then the other names to Johanna. So we have successfully updated the values of the first name, surname, and other names here. Let's say we want to delete. Since we'll be able to update, let's say we want to clear out. I wouldn't want to clear out this. Let's clear out the values in row 2 in the second sheet. Okay, let's say we want to clear out everything in this sheet and then make it empty. I think if I'm not mistaken, we have loaded sheet 2 somewhere up here, right? Yes, sheet 2, we have loaded sheet 2, so that means sheet 2 is available here. Let me confirm that. Okay, sheet 2 is available. So we want to clear out the values, the data that are contained in sheet 2. We want to clear out these values. We don't want them anymore. So we have 10 rows and just 2 columns, and then we want to clean them all at the same time, which means we will have to use a loop to loop through the rows, delete them, and then come to the second column and then delete everything in that. Okay, what did I just do? Okay, then let's come back to Python and do the right thing. So we are going to create a for loop. let's call this outer loop. For outer loop in range, this is actually starting from row 1, so the loop will start from 1. Then let's assume we don't know the last row which we are going to stop out deleting. There's actually a method that's available. For this one is actually a small file, so the last row is actually 10. We can actually get that easily. But assuming we don't know the last value, we can actually say then it should stop at sheet 2 dot. There are two methods, the max row and the max column. Okay, the maximum row. We have to add +1 due to how the range functions works, so that because it starts at the starting point and stop at end point -1, so we have to add that 1 to cover up everything. Okay, then we have to create another inner loop. Yep, in range it also has 1, and then sheet 2 dot. This time around it should be the max column. We put the +1 to avoid problems. Sorry, I overclicked. Let me just quickly copy paste it so that we move fast as possible. Now we say sheet 2 dot cell, we give it the row equal to the outer loop. Okay, so for each looping it should get the value and then wipe it out. Then the column should be the inner loop, then set the value to nothing, empty. Okay, this outer loop will handle for the rows from 1 to the maximum row +1. Then the inner column will handle for the inner loop will handle for the columns which start from 1 to the maximum number of columns, which is just 2. We just have 2 columns and we have 10 rows. So then what next? Let's see. Another silly mistake here. Instead of sheet 1 I say sheet. Please pardon me, I'm used to using that word, and I hope I can possibly adjust after these tutorials. I'm used to using the sheet always without appending numbers to it. And let me quickly change it. We are targeting sheet 2 actually, so I think we should not be having error. Then the workbook now that save, and this should be our example 3. Okay, and then everything should be good now. Let's check out example 3. What have we? Go to cell 2, everything wiped out completely, so we are good to go. We have successfully deleted all the values in sheet 2, and then we have our remaining values in sheet 1. So that means we have successfully been able to update some record, we have been able to add new, and then we have also been able to delete some values from the cell that we don't want. Then the second to the last thing here is how to freeze a pane. Take for instance, let me close this files, there are too many. Take for instance in our worksheet we have the headings here in row 1, and we don't want them to scroll. When we are scrolling, we want the heading to stop, the pane to stop, right? We don't want it to scroll. We want the heading to be static so that when you scroll you know what each column stands for. You can actually do that with Python and Openpyxl, giving just few lines of commands, and then everything is good. So we say worksheet 1 dot, let me not forget that again. This time around it will be what? Free space. Then you give it the coordinate. Let's say we want it to freeze A2. Now somebody might be thinking A2 should be A and then 2 here. Well, the freeze pane method works a bit differently. When you say A2, it actually starts here from A1. Then A3 actually means A2. I don't know why it works that way. There should actually be a reason behind that, but I'm not aware of it, so I just use it the way I see it, and everything works fine for me. So there's no need struggling to know why it actually works that way. Just get the rule that A2 means the first row, A3 means the second row. So we just pass it the coordinate of the row we want it to freeze A2. Then workbook dot save, and this should be example 4 SLSX. That format is actually here. You know, when you're trying to call it fast, you just end up biting your tongue. Example 4 is ready, and then we have it here. Let's quickly scroll and see if that. Wow, excellent. So now our A1 automatically doesn't get scrolled. Okay, exactly, and that is just what we wanted, right? So the last thing on our list is how to create a new workbook. So far we have actually been working with an existing Excel file, you know, loading existing workbook, loading existing sheets, and then getting data from them and actually updating, adding and deleting. Now we want to create a new workbook from Python itself. Okay, it's actually a very simple and straightforward concept, just as the loading of the workbook. Let's say new workbook equal to Openpyxl. This time around, instead of load workbook, you tell it workbook. The workbook with capital W. There actually another one with smaller w. Now our workbook has been successfully created, and let's be sure. Aha, it's actually been created successfully. Then the next thing is what you should know is that when you create a new workbook, it automatically creates one empty sheet for you. So let's confirm that. Get sheet names. Yes, it's automatically create a single sheet known as what? Sheet. So we can actually add a new sheet to it by saying new workbook dot. You can actually imagine what that function will mean. Create and then give it sheet. It's already here. Then you give it the title of the sheet. Let's say we want it to be sheet 2, and then we are good. So let's confirm that whether it has been created successfully. Workbook dot get sheet names. Let's be sure. Now we have sheet, and then we have sheet 2. So let's populate some values into the workbook and then get it done. So let's get the first sheet to work with. So let's say sheet equal to new workbook dot get sheets by name. That is actually another method. You pass in the string of the name of the sheet. I wouldn't just want to copy paste this directly, so I'll use another way. Then pass in the workbook new workbook dot get sheets, get sheet names. then you index the first return value, which is this one, because it has index 0 and index 1. So get us the sheet name at index 0 and make it available for our get sheet by name function. So this should work. Workbook has no attribute get sheet name. Sorry, it's actually supposed to be get sheet by name, not get sheet name. So here it should be get sheet names. There are many. So let's check out sheet. We now have our sheet fully loaded, right? Very good. But there's actually nothing inside. So let's say sheet, and then A1 should actually be my first name, my full name. Let me just put them on. Don't mind the arrangement. So let's say now A2 should say, oh, I love programming with Python. Actually, I really love it. And then the new workbook this time around, we tell it .save. So all this we are doing is actually within our virtual memory, as in it hasn't been saved to the internal memory. So this time around we say, let's call it newly created workbook.slsx. okay, so that we can now save it, and then let's confirm whether it has been created. Newly created workbook. Okay, what is inside? We have Michael, Johanna, Adama. We have I love Python programming. I love programming with Python. Actually, we have our first sheet. We have our sheet 2. There's nothing inside. So this is actually how we create new Excel files in Python. You use Openpyxl.workbook to create the workbook. This method actually returns the list of sheets in any workbook. When you create a new workbook, it automatically create an empty sheet called sheet for you. Then you can actually create more sheet using the create sheet method, and then passing the title of the sheet you want to create. Then you can actually get any worksheet by its name using this method, get worksheet by name, and then you pass it a string of the name of the sheet. So I'm using get sheets names. Actually, it has been corrected here. Get sheet names, and then give me the value at index 0. After you have gotten the sheets names, give me the one at index 0. This is actually what I'm saying here. So it's giving me sheet, that is the first one. Okay, and then I am saying go to cell A1 and assign these values. Then go to cell A2 and assign this value, and I'm saying the workbook now should save with this name, newly created workbook.sls, and then everything is good and fine. Then the last thing here is our exercise, which is what? Multiplication table. Okay, now our workbook doesn't have anything from our newly created workbook. The second sheet is empty, so I think we should use the second sheet for our exercise. So if I'm not mistaken, we still have reference to our workbook here. So let's quickly load in the second sheet. Let's see, sheet 2 equal to new sheet 2 equal to new workbook. I actually don't like typing long variable names. New workbook dot get sheets by name. We actually know the sheet name, which is actually sheet 2. So we pass in sheet name directly. Now we have a reference to sheet 2 here. So we want to create a multiplication table in sheet 2. Our multiplication table should actually be, let's say if we have 1, something like this, 2, 3, 4, then here 2, 3, 4. So 2 times 1 should be 2, 2 times 2 should be 4, 2 times 3 should be 6, 2 times 4 should be 8, and then 4 times 1 should be 4, 4 times 2 should be 8, 4 times 3 should be 12, and 4 times 4 should be 16. That is what we wish to achieve actually. That's how our times table should look like. Okay, let me wipe out everything and then ask Python to do the good job for us. So coming back to Python, now we have to create a for loop. To do that, let's say the endpoint of our multiplication table, it should stop at 10. It should stop at 10 times 10, or let's go with the normal 12, and let's say for I in range, we're starting with 1 because anything multiplied by 0 is 0. Endpoint plus 1 due to how the range function works, as I've said earlier. For something missed, for outer loop, I just love using this outer loop. I don't know why, because it's actually the outer loop and then there's another loop coming in from inside. So don't mind, you can actually use any variable name you want to use and everything will work fine. Then for inner loop, in range 1 and then end point, I actually love using inner and outer loop instead of using those ij stuff. For I in range, I just don't like using them. I like using these two. So now let's say if the outer loop equal to, this is not too necessary, but I need to check if the outer loop equal to 1, it should just say sheet 2, right? That's the row should be equal to the outer loop, and then the column should be equal to the inner loop. Dot value, the value should just be the inner loop. Sorry, I actually haven't tried this. This is my first time of trying it, so I hope we do this together and then get it to work. So I am saying sheet 2 dot cell, get the cell at this row, the current loop, then get the column at the inner loop, and then set their value to the inner loop, right? Because anything multiplied by 1 is 1. Now else, which means if the outer loop is not 1, then we should multiply the values. Okay, asterisk outer loop. So let's save and check out and see what we have got, whether it works successfully or not. I actually hope it works. I'm already getting stressed out and I need to take some rest. So what should we call this? Let's say multiplication table. Okay, just hope it works once so that we don't have too much time debugging some stuff. Multiplication table, let's go there and see. Sheet 2. Wow, excellent, just what we expect. We have 1 to 12, we have 1 to 12. So, and then this is your multiplication table 12 times 12, 144. Actually, I remember when we were in primary schools, we used to sing this stuffs like mad. But it's long actually. I did this and then everything works fine. So I think we have exhausted what we are supposed to cover for today, and I would like to put it across that we have a lot of other methods and functions that are available. You can actually merge cells using the sheet. Let's say sheets 2.merge cells. They are actually merge. You can merge cells, and you can also unmerge the cells as well with the unmerged cells, right? There are a lot of stuff, as you can see, just so many of them. You can get the first header, that is the values are the first rows, the first footer, the first header, and then you can even get the dimensions of your Excel file. You can delete columns, you can delete rows, and you can even set the column dimension. You can set the height and the width of columns, and a lot of other things are available. Openpyxl is just a very rich module that you can afford not to work with when automating Excel. So take your time, go through the examples again, play around with it, and then I would like to mention some few things. You use the load workbook to load existing workbook, right? And then you use the workbook.getSheet by name to get any sheet after you might have known the name of the sheet. While this method get sheet's name return a list of all the sheet's name. You use sheets.cell given the row and the column to get a particular cell, and you can use the reference to that cell with a dot value to access the value contained in the cell. You can also slice in the cell like any other Python list. You can actually slice it and it will return all the value for you. You can also change the value of any cell by assigning a new value to it as rightly done here. Okay, and whenever you make new changes, you make sure you call your .save method with the file name so that you save your changes. Okay, make sure you use different file name from the one you loaded so that you don't override your Excel files. Probably you might make some mistake and might want to revert the changes, so you save it with a new name. And then you can actually use for loop to access the values of a cell, and you can use the freeze pane to freeze any cell or any column you want to freeze. By freezing it, it means that column will not disappear. Okay, the column, for instance this one, will not disappear when you are scrolling it. Okay, it will not disappear. And then another important thing, to create a new workbook, you use workbook instead of load workbook. And you should know that when you create a new workbook, it automatically creates an empty sheet for you. Okay, then you can create new sheet by using create sheet and then giving it the title of the sheet. Then what other thing? I think with this we have gained enough knowledge to start working with Excel and then automating some seriously boring stuff. Thank you for watching. You have a problem, a suggestion, you kindly drop it at the comment below. And if you like the video, do subscribe to my channel for more videos like this coming. Thank you for watching and do have a wonderful day.